Title: The Rise of Mexico. A story of resilience and redemption. In the not-so-distant future, the United States, under the weight of political turmoil and economic instability, enacted a series of harsh immigration policies. Among the most controversial was the mass deportation of Mexican immigrants, millions of hard-working individuals and families who had built lives, businesses, and communities across America. The government claimed it was a necessary step to protect jobs for American citizens, but the decision would soon prove to be a catastrophic miscalculation. As buses, planes, and trains carried Mexican families back across the border, the mood was somber. Many had lived in the US for decades, their children knowing no other home. But as they returned to Mexico, a spark of determination began to grow. They were not defeated, they were ready to rebuild. The rebirth of Mexico back in Mexico, the returning diaspora brought with them skills, education, and a fierce work ethic honed in the US. Engineers, doctors, teachers, entrepreneurs, and laborers, all united by a shared sense of purpose. The Mexican government, initially overwhelmed by the sudden influx of people, quickly realized the potential of this returning population. They launched initiatives to integrate these individuals into the economy, offering incentives for startups, infrastructure projects, and agricultural innovation. Mexican cities began to transform. Abandoned factories were revitalized, turning into hubs for technology and manufacturing. Small towns flourished as returning families invested in local businesses and farms. The cultural renaissance was palpable. Art, music, and traditions that had been diluted by assimilation in the US were now celebrated with renewed pride. Mexico's economy, once overshadowed by its northern neighbor, began to boom. The country became a global leader in renewable energy, thanks to investments in solar and wind power. Its agricultural sector, powered by sustainable practices, started exporting high-quality produce worldwide. Mexican tech startups rivaled Silicon Valley, and the world took notice. The fall of America. Meanwhile, the United States faced an unprecedented crisis. The deportation of Mexican workers left gaping holes in key industries: agriculture, construction, hospitality, and healthcare. Crops rotted in fields, construction projects stalled, and hospitals struggled with staffing shortages. The American economy, already fragile, began to crumble. Small towns that had relied on immigrant labor were hit the hardest. Restaurants closed, farms went bankrupt, and communities became ghost towns. The American people, once divided on the issue of immigration, began to feel the weight of their loss. Protests erupted, demanding the return of Mexican workers, but it was too late. Mexico, now a thriving nation, had no interest in sending its people back. The Mexican president, in a historic speech, declared, "We are no longer the backyard of anyone. We are a nation of dignity, innovation, and strength. Our people have shown the world what we are capable of." A new sense of worth for the Mexican people. The journey was about more than economic success, it was a rediscovery of their worth. They had spent generations being told they were less than, that their value was tied to their labor in another country. But now, they saw themselves as architects of their own destiny. Schools in Mexico taught children about their rich history and cultural heritage, instilling a sense of pride that had been eroded by years of marginalization. The phrase, "Made in Mexico," became a symbol of quality and innovation, a stark contrast to its former perception. Families who had once dreamed of crossing the border now found themselves building dreams in their homeland. They realized they didn't need validation from the US to thrive. They were enough. The irony of history. Years later, as Mexico celebrated its status as a global superpower, the United States remained a shadow of its former self. American politicians, once so eager to deport Mexican immigrants, now begged for partnerships and trade deals. But Mexico, remembering the pain of betrayal, negotiated from a position of strength. The story of Mexico's rise became a lesson for the world. It was a testament to the resilience of a people who had been underestimated and cast aside. It was a reminder that no nation is defined by the borders that contain it, but by the spirit and determination of its people. And as the sun set over the bustling streets of Mexico City, the laughter of children echoed through the air, a sound of hope, pride, and a future built by their own hands.